Mark was 2 years old and Sue was a year behind.
Now Sue was built like Mrs. Poole, not
Beautiful.
as tall,
Yes.
not as tall, because
No.
Doris is pretty tall.
But Sue was sweet.
Yes, oh,
She was retired.
yes, yeah,
Retired.
I know, how was that?
She's my barber.
She
Stan's died.
I know,
I saw Sue at a basketball game, I think like maybe 4 years ago. It was one of the last, when Devin was a senior, one of his last games.
I wonder where Dan is.
in his car.
Dan, where are you? But plays the 11-11.
I know.
Where in the world is Dan Roy?
He's talking, but we can't hear him.
He's talking.
Can you hear us, Dan? Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Maybe we have to unmute him.
Dan's phone.
How's that?
Yeah,
Ah,
now
there
we
you
can
go.
hear him.
Why aren't you at 11-11?
No, I'm actually on I-90 in Massachusetts. Just got off the 495.
Jeez.
Isn't that incredible?
Doug, I got 6.
What? You got 6, okay. I'll call the meeting to order. Would you please stand and salute the flag?
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to the meeting. The next thing on the agenda is the election of the chair and the vice chair.
I move to nominate Doug for chair.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations?
Not for chairman.
All those in favor?
Are you
Opposed?
voting, Doug?
And all those opposed?
Did you vote?
I didn't vote.
You can vote.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move to nominate Chris for vice chair.
I'll second. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Tim to remain as vice chair.
Okay, or then all those in favor of Chris for vice chair? All those in favor of Tim for vice chair?
I didn't realize you were calling for 2 votes because there was no second. It was,
You don't have to second.
I didn't have to second that. In that case, then I'd like to do the vote over because I didn't realize
Okay.
that.
So all those in favor of Chris for chair,
Right, yeah, vice chair.
Vice Chair.
vice chair, and all those in favor of,
Do you want to oppose?
all those opposed? All those in favor of Tim for vice chair?
And opposed.
And
You actually don't have to
All
do
those
an
opposed.
opposed. What you would normally do is all for one, votes for one, then votes for the other.
Right.
That's what you would normally do.
So there's no, all those opposed, we have to vote to
Oh,
oppose.
you're good, you're good.
Okay,
So it looks like it was 2 to 3 on Tim, so it looks like it's Chris
Yeah.
as vice chair.
so I remain the chair and Chris Sanborn is the vice chair. The next thing on the agenda are the approval of the minutes for the last meeting, July 14. I thought they were good.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes for July 14.
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Ken and a second by Chris to approve the minutes of July 14. All those in favor? Thank you. Next are department reports. And let's see, are you hearing us, Dan?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. Apologies for the long distance call in, but I told Linda I would make this meeting, so here I am. Over the past few weeks, the fire department's been, I'm gonna say relatively quiet, but we've been to several calls, mostly a couple vehicle crashes, and we've had a couple trees that came down across roadways, but nothing too significant. The past few weeks, the fire department's been training on Thursday evenings up at the old middle school. We did some ladder drills, and last week we did some what we call all hand drills, where we advance hose lines and perform rescues. And then this Thursday, tomorrow evening, we're going to be doing auto extrication and stabilization of vehicles. They'll be down at Lance Rennie's garage, where he's going to have a couple vehicles staged for us. The 5th annual Monmouth Beach Party, I didn't get a chance to kind of recap that event because I was absent at the last meeting, but I'll just say that the event went very well, despite that we had to postpone the date and due to the weather on the 3rd. But the 10th, people came out in groves, more towards the evening hours, but we had a great turnout. Seemed like everybody had a good time with the live music. Ken Ackley did a great job at the last minute putting together the boat race, the cardboard canoe race. All the kids had fun with that. And the fireworks display went off with a bang and had a nice viewing over Cocknowagan Lake. So it was a great time, and everybody seemed to have a good time. So thanks to everybody that helped with the event, and certainly all the businesses and private donations to help make the event happen. We appreciate it. A few weeks ago, I think I told Linda this, but I'll share with you that we've officially filed for a grant. It's a $10,000 grant through the Firehouse Subs, and we're still waiting to hear a response from them, but holding out that we got a good chance of getting that grant. If we do get it, we're going to be purchasing gear racks for both fire stations. So fingers crossed on that. I'll keep you guys posted. This Sunday at the Wales Fire Department's annual banquet, we're going to be recognizing 3 individuals from the Monmouth Fire Department who assisted with that rescue a few months ago with that tragic fire on the Pond Road, and they'll be getting medals for performing a life-saving effort where they rescued that individual from the building. And that's Assistant Chief Anthony Siderio, Captain Greg Kohler, and Lieutenant Josh Rennie. They'll all be receiving medals at that banquet. So pretty proud to be part of that and see them get those recognition awards. And then the last thing I got is we've been offered an opportunity that in September and October, the fire department is going to have an opportunity to participate in a cancer screening. It's a survey that's being done nationwide by Rutgers University, and we actually have somebody on that staff that lives here in Hollowell that reached out to us and asked if we'd be willing to participate in that survey. It's voluntary. It's 100% confidential, but I've run it by the firefighters, and everybody seems to be all in favor of doing that study. I believe they do a survey, they do a screen-in, blood screen-in, all that stuff, and then they come back in a year or 18 months or something like that, and they do another screen-in, and then they share those results with each individual. And this is something they're doing nationwide. Only 600 plus firefighters, volunteer firefighters. They've done a similar study with full-time firefighters, but now they want to do something with volunteer firefighters. And our department was one of 600, firefighters nationwide that was chosen. So pretty proud of that opportunity. So we're going to listen in September to a presentation on that, and then decide if we're going to go forward with that participation in that study. So as you know, there's a lot of cancers in the fire service because of the exposure to carcinogens that we have. So I think it's really important that we all participate in it, and we'll hopefully get negative results. But if we get a couple early, screenings that we discover something and can prevent cancer in some of our individuals, that will be great, and it doesn't cost the town anything. So I'll keep you guys all posted on that as we go forward. So that's all I have for the fire department, unless there's any questions.
Dan?
Yes.
Dan, I was gonna ask, if the department decides to participate in the screening process without violating anybody's medical confidentiality, could you let us know either the results in an anonymous way, if there are individuals involved, or if there's some, I mean, it's research, apparently there'll be some sort of conclusion and aggregate study of the data. That would be also of interest, I think, to hear how that works out.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to be able to share that information. Yeah, obviously we can't give names, but certainly we can give a percentage, of the results. And certainly just the study nationwide, I'm sure we'll be, privy to that information as well. And we'll be happy to share that.
Are there any other departments in Maine involved?
So Hollowell Fire Department was chosen probably because of the individual that resides in that town that is a doctor or a research specialist at Rutgers University. And then I believe Cumberland Fire Department Chief Dan Small was chosen as well. But I want to say that's a combination department. So I'm not sure if he's part of this study or was part of the other study. But yeah, it's just a couple of departments here in the state.
Dan, I wanted to ask, I've been reading a lot about AFF, firefighting foam, aqueous firefighting foam. And I know we use that, and I've been reading that some have carcinogenic components. Have we looked at that in our department?
The old foam, yes, and we don't carry that. And then there was another study that just came out with a certain foam, and I don't know if it's the one you're referring to, but certainly we've changed up the foam that we currently have, who we purchased through Northeast Emergency Apparatus, and I believe that foam that we currently have is not part of that recent recall or whatever they're currently investigating. So I think we're in good shape.
And we don't have any of the other foam, old
No.
stock or anything.
No, we got rid of that several years ago. Yep.
I wouldn't want to see us using something like that.
Right.
But PFAs are, I guess, in the environment now.
I was referring to AFF, aqueous firefighting foam.
Right, but the chemical, and I don't know the name of it all, I know it's called a PFA, and it's throughout our environment. The wells up in around Fairfield or somewhere up there, because of the fertilizer spread on the fields, it's over a number of years polluted those wells, and I think it's pretty prevalent in the environment, but now, and not just firefighting foam, but all kinds of stuff. Anyway, yes, sorry. Dan, besides Siderio and Kohler, who is the other person who's going to be honored?
Lieutenant Josh Rennie.
Oh, thank you.
And I haven't seen, is Chief Mulheron on this call
Yeah.
Yes.
or this con? Oh, okay. I won't say anything about his event next week then. I'll let him talk about that. All right. I'm gonna go off video, but I'm gonna be listening in. So if there's any questions, I'll pull over and answer any questions going forward into the meeting. You guys have a good night.
Right,
Thank you.
safe.
You too. Chief Mulheron?
Oh, good evening. I'm assuming you got my June monthly report. We had 207 calls to service for the month of June. We also had conducted 127 motor vehicle stops with 6 criminal summonses or arrests, an operating F suspension, 3 OUIs, and 2 criminal speeds. Any questions on the monthly report? All right, I'll move on.
Are you gonna talk about,
I'm sorry?
excuse me, Chief, were you gonna talk about the speed study, and
Yeah,
gonna talk about that now?
no. I still have a few other things.
Oh, but you are gonna talk about
Yeah,
it. I was
Yes.
gonna ask, that's all.
yeah, absolutely.
Chief, I have a question about the statistics you just gave us. Is it possible, and there's no urgency to this, but is it possible that we could do sort of a month-to-month comparison or some sort of seasonal, like, I know what this is for this month, what was it last month type of thing?
Yeah, I don't see why I couldn't do that. What I typically do is I'll look at last year, what happened that month, you know,
Yeah.
like last June.
Sure.
Hang on.
Year comparison.
Hang on, I lost you. There we go. Yeah, essentially, that's what I do. I don't bring it out in the meeting, but I look at it myself personally. But I can do that. Yeah, that's no big deal.
Going forward, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Kirk Bachman has actually been accepted into the academy. He'll be starting on the 16th of August. He had his orientation yesterday. So that's a good thing. He'll be in there for 18 weeks. I think his graduation date is December 27th. Well, no, I take that back. I think it's the 17th of December. Pretty sure it is. So that's a good thing. The 25-mile-an-hour speed limit flashing signs have been ordered. That's 4 to 6 weeks out for that. And I know you got the graph that I got. That was a 34-day observation with just that sign blanked out. As you can see, we had 40 some odd thousand cars go through, which I tried to figure it out best. I just divided it by 34. It came out to 1,452 cars a day that went through on Main Street, heading out of town, that is. So, I mean, as you can see, anything over 36 is just about 2% of the vehicles, which equals, let's see, what's that, 950, about 1,000 vehicles out of 40.
Excellent compliance.
Any questions on that? All right. And the last thing I have is next Tuesday is National Night Out, 6 p.m. right here at the PD. We'll be cooking hot dogs. We got the fire department there. Public Works is going to be here. Winthrop ambulance is going to be here, and might have somebody from Kennebec County. He's one of my reserves, and he's supposed to be working that night. So he said if he got down this way, he'd stop in as well. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry already. Oh, Lions Club, I'm sorry. That is. And also somebody from the fishing game, Monmouth Fishing Game, is going to be here. So to see you all here. And that is all I have.
Any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
So last meeting, Tim brought forward a proposed RFP for the Academy project and sent it to me so that I could do some tweaking of it. And I've worked with a couple of engineers to get the wording right, make sure that we've got all of our information in here that we need to get this project up and running. I'm going to pass around what I've got. This is just the proposal. This is no attachments. We are getting ready to move up to the website tomorrow with this. The hazardous material study that was done, the final brownfield study that was done, and attached to that is also Mr. Michaud's engineering report as well. And if the board wants me to put those concept drawings up there, we will do that too, and just, call them possible concepts, but, that's up to whatever you want me to put up there or put up. We have had to change the deadlines for at the end. Nothing has changed at the beginning of this because we need to get it going. But some of the deadlines at the end are moved out a little bit, taking us into January. And the reason for that is because the people who we need to do all of these projects are right up straight right now. And we probably, most likely, will get better prices if we bid this out during the winter. So thinking about it, I know we want to get the building to deteriorate less than it already is. But as I was thinking about it today, we're going to be ripping out all the plaster inside anyway, because we're going to be insulating the building and making it energy efficient. So the stuff that's falling down on the inside, if it keeps falling down, I guess that's less that we'll have to tear out. It'll already be down for us. But hopefully this is okay. We'll get it up tomorrow and send it out to some engineering and architect firms and get this project going.
I just see one thing on number 3, under number 4, that should be 2022.
2022. What number is that? Chris?
That is number 4, number 3.
Okay, I'll find it.
It's number 3 under number 4,
Okay, should be 2022.
2022.
Okay, perfect.
Unless we're going back in time.
Yes,
No.
we could, but none of us want to.
So that will be ready to go up tomorrow. The advertisement will be sent to the newspaper as well. Posted on Maine Municipal's website, our website, and get the word out as much as we possibly can about these RFPs. We have added on our website, if you pull up the Town of Monmouth webpage, at the upper right-hand corner, there is now a donate button for the Academy. And it's a PayPal donation, so that if a person wants to, they can make an online donation using a credit card. There's an opportunity there to pay over your donation to pay for the fee. And if they don't take that option, then the fee will come out of their donation. So I had to try the button the other day, and I wanted to make sure it was going to charge the donor and not the town, because we're not allowed by law to pay those types of fees. And I made a $5 donation, and it credited us with $4.55. So it did exactly what it's supposed to do. We also put information up there that if anyone wants to donate with a check or cash, that they can, where they can send that or where they can bring it. Because some people are not going to want to feel comfortable, they won't feel comfortable using a credit card. And other people, I'm thinking, if they make a large donation, are not going to want to do that online. They'll probably want to bring us a check. So we will accept checks, we'll accept cash, and we'll accept credit cards. So that was up and running. And as soon as we get fundraising going, I did post it on our Facebook page, just trying to get the word out there that that exists. The RFP on the playground has been posted. I borrowed that from another community, ran it by the Recreation Commission and the Recreation Director this week at their meeting. Got their input. They didn't have any changes to make. So that is now on the website with a copy of the drawing at the beach of what the footprint looks like. And I gave that the same deadline as this RFP. So we're going to be busy at the end of August with these coming in. And that ad will also go to the newspapers tomorrow and be posted on the MMA website. And finally, just a timing update on getting into the admin building. We have ripped out all the carpet up there. It's all been fully painted inside because it needed it. And carpet is going in at the end of August. We are getting quotes for heat pumps to make it much more comfortable and much more energy efficient up there. We have purchased the television and the cameras and equipment for streaming and we'll wait and start using that when we get up into the new building. I'm anticipating, or at least I'm hoping that by the first meeting in September, we'll be in the admin building.
I would recommend we do not remove the oil heat. Should the heat pumps prove very costly in the winter months, which they can in a building that's not very well insulated, it may be much cheaper for the town to heat on peak degree days or whatever they call it with oil rather than use the heat pumps.
Well, the other thing too would be is if we had interruption in power, it's takes less draw to run an oil fired off of a generator than it would be to try to run a couple of inverters.
I'm assuming there's an oil burner that's specific to that building.
Yes, it's actually upstairs. There's a little door on the outside that does it. We'll leave that hooked up at least for a few years and see how things go.
I'm assuming the oil tank is above ground as well.
It is, it's right outside one of the doors.
It's
Um,
275 gallon tank at the end of the building.
that gets filled with Carol.
It's surprisingly well insulated in that building. We've, seen the up into the ceiling, and there's quite a bit of insulation up there. I don't know what's in the walls, but since that's a relatively newer building compared to the school. And we are separating the electric service on that building so that it will be totally separate from the academy building.
So with regard to the RFP for the building, I suggested it would be beneficial to include the concept drawings that went out to the public as information prior to their vote, so they could see what we had for an idea. And it would also help the people that were interested in bidding on it to get some idea of what the inside floor plan could look like. They would understand that they're not necessarily going to be bound by that concept drawing, but at least give them an idea of what there is to work with. Does everybody agree?
Yeah, I think the footprint's really important on there because they can see, the square footage of each section. So I think that's good for them to see. I'm sure that concepts will also come with costs, so,
Well, right, I
Yeah.
think it give the contract, the people that are interested in bidding would give them some idea of options that they might propose.
exactly.
I'll put those up tomorrow.
To whom do we have to thank for the use of this equipment?
Tim,
Thank you, Tim.
I loaned it to the town.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have
That's all I
one
have.
question.
Mhm.
I did ask you to get us an example of the ordinance for the senior deferral of tax payments. I don't see it yet, so I would like to again reiterate that we'd like to see that ordinance sometime soon, or examples of that ordinance sometime soon, so we can work it up and put it on the warrant in June.
I have reached out to MMA's legal department to see if they're going to be doing any drafts of that ordinance, and was told that no ordinance is required in order to do that. There are several different tax iterations that passed and some that got postponed to the next session. And MMA is gathering all of that information and will be putting it all out to communities and what next steps are required. So as soon as I have all of that, I will share it with you. But I was told that no ordinance is required for the program that you're talking about on the local level.
So the select board can just
Opt to do it.
opt to do it and set the tax rate?
But I'll have more information once MMA legal drafts all of that, because there were a slew of tax bills that passed this time or got drafted, considered, and then postponed to the next session.
Yeah, I heard that there is a second bill, I'm pretty sure the governor signed it into law, that actually it's a reimbursement bill for senior citizens. So I need to get more details on what exactly the impact is going to be from mine.
Actually, I did read about that.
Yeah.
And it did pass.
Yeah.
And there
And
was-
it would have some pretty serious consequences for Monmouth.
Right.
It would be a lot of tax money that would come back to the seniors, and it would definitely probably it could represent as high as an 8 or a 10% hit to our revenues. And I think the state only has to pay back half of it.
Right.
But I can't remember all the details.
Once I have all the information from MMA Legal, I will share that with all of you. I also suspect they'll be putting it in the Main Town and City magazine. Because they usually do a rundown of all the bills that have passed and how they affect municipalities.
Right.
And so there were a lot that affected people 65 and older.
So speaking about taxes, do you have any idea when we'll be able to set the tax rate?
I'm hoping the second meeting in August. Well, I'm telling you the second meeting in August. It won't be the next meeting. We won't be here.
Okay.
Wait till you're here.
Because we will need to get the bills out.
Yes, Donna is finalizing all of her paperwork and we should have that within the next couple of weeks.
Next thing on the agenda are select board reports.
I've got one.
Yes.
I noticed at my recent visit to the transfer station that the swap table is back and is active. And for those who are listening from the general public, you should make use of that. Anytime someone uses that swap table, they're saving us money, disposal costs. And thank you for getting that organized in a way that our insurance company will tolerate.
We hope. We've done our best.
It's down near the Burley's building.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, adjacent to the Burley's old shack, air quotes, old. And I wonder maybe if we could do, I know there's a sign sort of sitting on the ground with an arrow that sort of points in that general direction, but maybe we could figure out a way to make the signage a little more attractive or visible so that everyone knows where it is.
I understand some flags may be going up at the transfer station, at the different stations up there to let people know where things are. In
Do you?
addition- In addition to some of the signage, yes, I was informed today.
Huh, go figure that
I don't
one.
know who had that idea.
I don't know.
Who did?
Kent.
Oh, flags. What kind-
It's a demo or,
Right, just so that
Recycling,
they have
yes.
something to point to that says, go to the yellow flag.
Okay,
That's where you dump that.
all right.
Did I say the word dump? I didn't mean to say that. You dispose of that at the yellow flag.
well, we do dump it. They transfer it. So,
You and Herb go to fisticuffs.
yes.
Thank you. Any other select board reports?
I would like to ask the town manager to put on the second meeting in August, a discussion about the East Monmouth boat launch. And also ask her to get an estimate for us of engineering fees and an estimate of cost of the project. Nothing written in stone, obviously, but one of the things that I have asked the comprehensive plan to put in as a goal is that East Monmouth improvements of that East Monmouth boat launch. If we have that boat launch on there and it's a improve it, and the other boat launch finally gets built in the East Winthrop, that'll put 2 active boat launches on that lake. And high-end inland fisheries and wildlife can be prodded to pay more attention to the lake, including stocking it with fish
And including navigation boats.
Right,
and navigation buoys.
right, because right now they're boat jumps, if they exist.
Only when I get around to it. The other benefit of paying additional benefits of paying some attention to that spot is that there is an opportunity to also make access to the Jug Stream portion of Cobussy there in a carry-in way. So someone could put in canoes or kayaks and go downstream into Cobussy.
So you would mention that to the engineering and cost, because not only, I guess, we discussed about improving the ramp, because when people back into it now, they kick a lot of debris into the stream. On the other side of the dam, the erosion from the basic parking lot they have there puts a lot of stuff into the stream. So erosion control should be part of that too, and there is quite an opportunity there to put in a carrying path or station or whatever we want to call
We might also reach out to the watershed district, Cobbossee Watershed District, to see if there are some matching funds available for erosion control, because there's quite a lot of bare dirt there that's just, wasting away anytime there's a heavy rain. And I know they have, at least for Ennebescook, I don't know about Cobbossee, but I know for Ennebescook, they run a program that does a 60-40 match with other fund sources in terms of paying for materials or things like that.
They get grants.
Yeah.
319 grants.
EPA grants. Yep.
And anything that's done there has to get DEP permitted, because
Oh, yeah.
you can't put anything in the water, touching water without.
It's a significant I'm sure it's going to be a
it.
very.
We
long
went through the
process.
same process over here,
Yeah.
and the engineering construction company helped us through that whole process and facilitated that. That's really should be a function of the engineering and design.
It's possible to do that,
What?
for you to come up with a study of,
I will do my best.
So
Put it on the agenda.
just kind of as a public service announcement, if you will, since we're on this subject, anybody that owns property on the lake shore should understand that they also can't put any type of material into the water without DEP approval. I know I was actively involved in helping a camp owner up on East Pond remove 2 yards of crushed rock
Uh-oh.
that this person put to control erosion around on their waterfront, their campsite, was a laudable idea, but they didn't get the proper permitting, so DEP made them pull it out, which was quite a job. My Bass Club offered to do it for very low cost, but just so people understand that, they say, I'm gonna do this to help improve the shoreline. Well, if it involves putting material in the water, that you have to have a DEP permit.
Which involves some paperwork, but most permits are permit by rule. So
Right.
you do typically get permission. It's just a matter of making sure that you're following the process.
Right,
that they
because if you
prescribe.
don't get permission, they're unforgiving about you
Oh,
taking
yeah.
whatever it is out.
Yeah.
any other select board reports? Next, public comment. Any public comment? Okay, then on to board and committee appointments.
Before you this evening are annual appointments to the Board of Appeals, the Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and Recreation Commission. The applicants before you are, I think, all incumbents they are. And at your last meeting, we had a work session to discuss the process for this year. And you said, let's move forward with appointing the incumbents. So I have before you David Lewis to the Board of Appeals with a term that expires July 31st, 2024. Martha Jory, did I get it right?
Juries.
Jory. And her Whittier Conservation Commission, term to expire 7/31/24. Planning Board, term to expire 7/31/24 will be Rick Grant as an alternate, Lawrence Saucier and Ray Simon. And Recreation Commission with a term to expire 7/31/2024, Thomas Becker.
Move we make those appointments.
Second.
This is a motion by Harold, a second by Chris to appoint those people to those positions. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is to authorize the town manager to sign a lease agreement for a plow truck.
In June, the voters approved the purchase of a plow truck for the Public Works Department, or Parks and Rec Department. Public Works Department, before you this evening is the paperwork from bond council and some of the information about the lease. We had estimated on the ballot that it would be about $55,000 a year payment. It's a little over 56,000, so we were close. The excavator came in about $3,000 less per year, so we actually are going to be in the better for that. I will have the purchase and sale, the purchase paperwork in front of you for the next meeting for both the excavator and the plow truck, but only the plow truck requires a vote from you this evening.
So we need a motion to,
I make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the lease agreement for the plow truck.
Second.
so there's a motion by Chris, second by Ken? Carol.
Whatever.
To authorize the town manager to sign a lease agreement for a plow truck. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is to approve the Maine Municipal Association ballot.
This is an annual item that comes before all of the municipal members of Maine Municipal Association. We have on the ballot this evening, Elaine Allos, who's the chair of the select board in the town of Solon. She is being nominated as vice president. And for executive committee for 3-year terms, they're proposing David Sear, the town manager in the town of Frenchville, Melissa Doan, the town manager in the town of Bradley, and Justin Poirier, the town manager and town administrator in the town of Shabik Island.
I recommend against approving that. Same recommendation I make every year because there's no choice there. Doesn't matter if we vote for or against it. It only takes one vote to elect those people. That's not, I don't believe that's in the best interest of the town. It should be a choice. They only ever recommend the exact number of people that they have positions open.
So we need a motion to
You have a motion. Tim just made a motion not to approve
not
it.
to appoint. Okay. Is there a second? No second. Motion fails.
The motion dies for lack of a second. That would be the proper.
So I make a motion to approve the Maine Municipal Association ballot
As stated.
as
Second.
stated.
I'll second.
And just for the sake of discussion, I agree with what Tim says, and I think we should make it known to MMA that, you know, what the feeling is on that, because I do agree that there's no point in having an election when the outcome is predetermined. That's what happens in Russia and China and certain other places, so there really should be some choice.
Is it hard to get people to serve in these positions?
They did have a struggle this year. They reached out, in fact, they reached out to some of us who've already served and wanted to know if we were interested in coming back and serving again. So it's getting harder and harder. People are really, really busy. They do go through a process to get these people here. There may have been multiple people. Actually, I was on the nominating committee, so there were multiple people who were interviewed by the nominating committee for these positions, and the nominating committee is nominating these people to be voted on.
And again, I agree with Tim that that doesn't represent a voting choice, that represents an appointment. And so I would like to see that made, that thought conveyed to MMA.
I actually conveyed that when I went to the convention one year. In no uncertain terms.
Okay, so, yes, so we have a motion from, by Chris, and a second by Ken to approve the ballot as created or structured
Presented.
or presented, good, by the MMA. All those in favor? 3 in favor, all those opposed? 2 opposed. And next,
Don't
Oh.
say
come on. Just to, next is to appoint a building committee for the former Monmouth Academy renovation.
At your last meeting, we had a work session to talk about getting the building committee up and running. We did advertise on Facebook and also in the community advertising that we were looking for applicants. The deadline was Monday. You have received applications from Stephen Brown, Lawrence Boucher, Lori Gifford, Don Hodgson, Paul Root Jr., and Sarah Simpson, which is, how many is that, 6? And I do believe that you also wanted to designate a liaison from the select board.
Well, I'll move we appoint those 6 people.
No second.
So this is a motion by Tim and a second by Chris to appoint the people who applied for this position. All those in favor? And that's any opposed?
I'd also make a motion that we appoint Chris as the liaison from the select board to be a member of that committee.
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion by Ken and a second by Chris to second by Harold to appoint Chris as the select board liaison to that renovation committee. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed?
I'd just like to say I worked on that project for 2.5 years, and I resent being cut out of this process so unceremoniously.
Next on the agenda is to adopt a policy regarding virtual meetings.
So up until the pandemic came, any elected body or even appointed bodies that are appointed by an elected body were not able to have virtual meetings. If you wanted to have a meeting, it had to be in person with all of your members present in the room. During the pandemic, as part of the legislature's attempt to continue to operate and knowing that municipalities needed to operate throughout the pandemic, they created the opportunity for us all to meet virtually. As long as certain conditions were observed, that meaning that the public had a right to participate and see and hear everything that was going on. In a regular meeting in person, the public has a right to be here and see and hear everything that's going on. So that had to happen. We did that. Now that the governor's executive order has expired, at the end of this month is the end of the grace period for all boards and committees, including the legislature, to hold any kind of virtual meetings. So in order to do so in the future, we have a new policy that was passed by the legislature, well, not a policy, but the ability to be able to do that. Now, we may never do it again. We may never want to do it again, but by having a policy adopted by the board, you will be allowed to do it with certain parameters, meaning the public has to be able to watch the meeting, hear the meeting, and participate when it's a public meeting, a public hearing. They have the right to speak, or under your rules when they are allowed to speak. Our attorneys have drafted for all their municipal clients the policy that you have in your packet. I've also provided it to all of our boards and committees to adopt, because the select board cannot adopt a policy for all of its boards and committees. Each one will have to adopt their own. And again, this is not mandatory. You do not have to ever have another virtual meeting. But if an emergency situation arises, which could be a blizzard, and you've got information or action that needs to be taken care of in a timely manner, you would still be able to do it. If one of you should be away and you need that person's vote on an item that you're working on, either as part of your quorum or just because you really want everyone to be able to participate, that person would be able to remote in. It's important to note, though, if you do have one of you remoting in, it has to be a roll call of everyone. I think what we were doing, we had a couple of you out during this whole process when we were back in public, but you were virtually attending. We just had you speak up, but under this policy, it would have to be a roll call of the entire board. So again, this is not a mandatory thing that you will ever have to have a virtual meeting, but if you ever get into a situation where you need one, you need to pass this policy.
I make a motion that we adopt the policy regarding virtual meetings as stated.
Now second.
Just for the purpose of discussion, Mr. Chair, I think it's important to note that some of the best attended select board meetings were the ones during the pandemic when folks had access to safe access to their computers at home. And I've heard from numerous constituents that might find it difficult to travel, might be stuck on a highway in Massachusetts, but trying to participate. It seems to me, and this is just my, from the hip opinion, that the attendance of select board meetings, since we've had remote access available as part of this emergency gubernatorial thing, attendance has been better. And when people attend and see what happens at meetings and participate, and I think we all win. And so I would urge the rest of the folks here to support making this policy so that we can continue to offer this type of service.
And that is not anything that's unique to Monmouth. I participated in some group discussions on whether, we wanted to support this new law. And every municipality saw an increase in participation from their residents by doing some form of Zoom or, go to meeting or whatever. But I think it's important to note too, that this board had also committed going forward, no matter whether we had virtual meetings or not, that we were going to provide the public with a way to watch from home, because we hadn't had that in the past. And we were hearing from a lot of people who really wanted to just listen and know what was happening.
The thing that I got is it's for the town of Monmouth and the trustees of Cumston Hall.
No, that's what I
That's
sent
us
to you.
tomorrow.
I sent that to you today and the
Yeah.
members of the,
For us tomorrow night.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
what's in your packet is for the select board.
okay. So I got the wrong.
I looked at it twice, but it's pretty similar. It's pretty much the same document.
It's the
it just-
exact same document for
Yeah.
all boards and committees. All I did was go in and change the name.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion by Kent, second by Chris, to approve to adopt the policy regarding virtual meetings. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is to add June 19th, also called Juneteenth, to the list of holidays in the employee handbook and labor agreement.
As everyone is aware, not only the state of Maine, but the federal government has adopted June 19th as a national holiday. I'm asking that you adopt this into our handbook for our employees, as well as the labor agreement. We've always followed whatever the state holidays were. In fact, it's very hard for the office to operate when the state is shut down because we're an agent of the state. A lot of our business.
So moved.
Second. So there's a motion by Tim and a second by Harold to add June 19th, Juneteenth to the list of holidays in the handbook and labor agreement. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is warrant number 2.
Thank you. Items over $1,000, R&H Photo, Video, and Pro Audio. This is for the new streaming equipment, the speakers, the cameras for our new streaming ability at the new building, $2,634.90. Bernstein, Sure, Sawyer, and Nelson, our monthly retainer, $1,041.66, and $385 for some work that was done on the credit enhancement agreement. Business Management Systems, this is an annual license fee, $1,736. Capital One Public Funding, this is the fire department pumpers, a lease payment, $107,496.05. Card member services, this is Adobe Acropo, and also the purchase of the television and the computer for our streaming, $1,613.63. Central Main Power for electricity, $2,863.86. Kennebec Valley Council of Governments for planning, $1,365. Main Equalization, our monthly assessing fee, $2,287.50. Main Waste to Energy for solid waste processing, $5,566.57. Northeast Emergency Apparatus LLC repairs, air brake tubing, helmets and boots for fire equipment, $2,089.40. Somerset County Treasurer for PSAP services, $9,462.50. Treasurer State of Maine for motor vehicle plates, titles and fees, $12,196.23 and $4,419.87. Winthrop Police Department, half year payment for dispatch coverage, $26,786.76. And Wright Pierce for Wilson Pond Culvert Replacement Engineering Services, $1,655.78.
Move to pay the warrant.
Second.
So the motion by Tim, second by Ken to pay warrant number 2. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is a work session on solar options.
Thank you. So pretty much since I've been here, I've been getting weekly emails or phone calls from solar companies wanting to know what they can do for the town of Monmouth. But we weren't ready at any point in the past to really get into that because we've had so much going on. And we still do have a lot of projects going on. However, it seems now that it's a good time to really start to look at what our options are. So I reached out to Purchase Power Options, which is where the consortium that we belong to, where we get our fuel and gasoline as a group, and we share the prices and get them down a little bit. And asked them if they had anything to do with any solar groups, and got some options from them for that. So basically at this point, there's there's 3 options because I've since found out that there's another one. So there's the option of buying into a solar array that may not even be in the town of Monmouth. It might be, in a town next door, but if they have a spot available, we would be able to buy into it. Our electricity rates would be lower. They anticipate I sent them all of our electric bills. They anticipate about a $3,000 a year savings if we were to do that. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but our budget is not huge. The other option is what they call a power purchase agreement. And what happens in that case, and a lot of municipalities are doing this, a solar array is built either within the municipality or maybe outside the municipality now, where the solar company takes all of the expense, builds the solar array. We buy our power through them at a reduced rate, and at either 5 or 7 years later, we have the option of purchasing that array to own on our own. At that point, our electricity goes to hardly anything, but then you have the increased costs of a debt payment. So that's those are the 2 options, but there's kind of a third option that's part of the second option. I was talking to Winthrop And apparently they're looking at a power purchase agreement for rooftop. And so I reached out again to our group, and you can do a system where it's on the rooftops of our buildings. And it's still the same system where the solar company pays for everything up front. We don't pay anything out of pocket. Our expenses are reduced much greater than if we were just buying into an array somewhere else, outside of a power purchase agreement. But we just have to make sure that we've got enough rooftops, that would be able to cover our costs. Now, it's possible that we might not cover 100% of our costs. We might just cover a percentage of it. I have experience in a community, but will not be named, that went the power purchase agreement on our landfill, and it only covers about 12% of our expenses. But what we were looking at was possibility of covering all of our expenses, all of our electric bills. So I kind of need to know from the board which way you would like me to investigate. I can put out an RFP for solar options and see what we get.
I have a number of comments. Number one, most of this is possible through the net metering program. If that program goes away, how does that affect us? Number two, solar is heavily subsidized. That's the only reason that it is cheaper. And the subsidy comes from the rest of us all paying taxes and paying increased CMP fees. What happens to us if that goes away and we're in the middle of that process or in the middle of some agreement? Does that automatically negate our savings and end up costing us more money? And thirdly, thirdly, I would never want to see a solar panel on Thompson Hall anywhere.
No.
Because it's a
On
historic
the
building.
historic register.
Well, it's actually not impossible. They did it at a historical building in Augusta. Fourthly, the town of Reedfield went through all of these things and looked at every one of those options. I would contact them for their experience. I think they ended up not doing anything ultimately, but I could be wrong.
So I do share the concern about subsidies, because in our current environment, solar is subsidized at over $18 per million BTUs of energy generated. Wind is subsidized at just over $7 per million BTUs of energy generated, and fossil fuels is like a nickel per million BTUs of government subsidy. So should at some point the political climate change and the government subsidy is either drastically reduced for solar as it becomes more available. Right now it's in the infrastructure building mode, and so it's heavily subsidized. May not always be that way. So if that subsidy amount changes, then the difference has to be made up someplace. So that's a valid concern in my book. So I would want to think about that. The other thing is, if we were to purchase plan, then when we took over ownership, be it ourselves or us with another town or two towns or whatever, then you don't just get 100% benefit from the electricity generated, because you have maintenance and replacement costs. Those solar panels can go bad. They can need to be replaced. There could be other things that once you own it, if there is any hazardous materials, somehow the field gets damaged and there's hazardous materials that are loosed, then you have issues with that being the owner. So there are those things to think about. And then my personal preference would be, if we have buildings where we could put solar panels either on the roofs or near the buildings in a ground array that could power those specific buildings, and the payback was reasonable, then to me, that would be the first thing to look at.
Definitely. So I mean, as we learned a lot on the Ridge Road about where dating and when things are, at the end of their life, and that would be my concern with purchase to own, that we'd own something that was at the end of its lifespan, so then where are we then? You know, we're not paying into it to an escrow account to decommission them,
Right,
so.
and if you had to decommission it 7, 15, whatever years after you
Yeah.
own it,
Own
then
it,
you own those
exactly,
decommission
that's right,
costs.
exactly, so that, you know, would be my concern with that option, and, but the rooftop part is, you know, a little more interesting, if there was something we could do to power, you know, the town office. Cumston obviously would be hard, because none of us, I think, that are involved with Cumston Hall would want that, and there's really not a spot
For a
around
ground
here for it, for a ground array. The cemetery, I think they frown upon having solar panels in the cemetery, so, and then we got railroad tracks, so we're kind of running out of space.
But the town office.
The town office,
the
I think,
police
and the
department,
police and the public works would be some decent options. I think my concern with the police station and the town office is if our grand hope and plan at some point, when we can do a public works facility, we don't want a solar array that's in the way of building, you know, a town, you know, a public office for, you know, a combined fire station, police station, because that's always been the talk about where it would go in that space between the police station and the town office, if we had a community building. So, you know, that's my concern, is if it was a ground array up there, we don't want it where we might eventually at some point in time.
They're not big, they're not so big they could be relocated though.
Yes, but I don't know. if we
What
wanna
is
go
the-
down
is
that
there-
road.
Is it known what the lifespan of these are?
It is, actually, having installed one in 2013 on Mom's house. A rooftop, at the time, rooftop was the way to go. For a couple of years, Mom had a 0 electric bill, until she decided to upgrade to heat pumps, in which case her electric bill came back, but she was still getting a benefit from it. The rate of return was about 8%. Rooftop right now is probably over-engineered if you've got space somewhere to do this on the ground. Ground-based ones are easier to keep track of, easier to install, less complicated, and you'll get a better rate of return on a ground-based.
Easier to maintain.
Yeah, easier to maintain, but the maintenance, there's been 0 maintenance cost on Mom's system. It's like a set it and forget it kind of thing. And that's been there for, what, 8 years now. I can tell you, when we made that investment, we were very concerned about a lot of the issues that have been mentioned tonight. Certainly maintenance and replacement and disposal costs all came up. The system that we purchased with a 25-year guarantee. So there's an efficiency guarantee that has an insurance policy and a bond behind it, that if for some reason those panels were to fail to a degree, I think they said 80% efficiency from the day they were installed for 25 years, there's a means for compensation. I also, I mean, it's enticing to see the warrant that we just signed at a $2,800 price tag, right? And imagine if for almost, maybe some time and effort, but almost no financial obligation, we could earn 10% of that back every year. That's a pretty enticing thing. I don't know why Reedfield was unsuccessful at figuring that out.
I'm not
because-
sure if they were, but I have not heard that they went forward.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yes,
it essentially turns into, if you're willing to put the time and effort into working with an engineer and a solar person, it's free money. Now, of course, nothing's free, right? And everything is subsidized. Whether that's solar panels are being subsidized by the government, or unrecognized pollution costs for other fuel sources. Right? We all know that train is on its tracks. That at some point, we're gonna need to recognize the pollution costs of other fuel sources, all of them. And that's not in the dollar amounts that you've been quoting to us in terms of the cost per BTU. And I mean,
Well, that's not the cost, that's a subsidy amount.
oh, the subsidy amount. Well, unrecognized pollution cost is a subsidy. And so you can, I mean, we can, oh, I don't think so at all, because we all pay a price if over the long term, there's a change to the climate. Last night, the sky was bright, bright red because we've got, you know, the place is on fire out west and we're getting their air. I mean, we're setting records in terms of what the temperature of Lake Anabesicook is for the last 2 years. And it's, I mean, it's nothing that we're doing. But the fact is if we don't recognize the costs of what we're doing in terms of pollution to our atmosphere, whether that's any of these elements, carbon dioxide or these other things, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, all of those things, then we should be including them in the bill. That would be my point.
I don't think it's fair to include that as equating to a subsidy. That's a cost. I agree with you. There are costs.
Yep.
And costs are different from subsidies. So I was talking about direct government subsidy that would impact costs of ownership. So that was my point.
Sure.
So I don't dispute that there are waste costs to anything.
Right.
But that wasn't the point of the subsidy.
So the other issue I heard Tim bring up, and I think it's an important one to understand, is that all of this would be realized, these savings for the town would be realized through something called the net metering program in the state of Maine. And the fact is, every time a proposal has come before the legislature to do away with the net metering program, that those proposals have been unsuccessful, obviously. And even the ones that did get some traction, all of them recognize that there are, if the costs are already sunk, if someone is already participating in a net metering program, that they should not be penalized and have their investment penalized. So the sooner we get in, the sooner we can realize some savings, and it would be highly unlikely that that the legislature would somehow say, no, we're not going to do net metering, period. And if you're already in, you're going to be penalized for the investment that you've made. I agree. We should not be putting solar panels on Cumston Hall. And we shouldn't be putting panels where you can, you know, where they're an eyesore. I do think that if we were to look at a ground-based system, we ought to be thinking about, you know, places where it's out of the way and no one looks at it, or it's just land that's not being used. There's a couple of fields, good-sized fields down on the in the transfer station that potentially could be. I mean, we're mowing the grass. Rather than mow the grass, why not put panels on it? That's possible.
How far in the future are putting roof shingles that could be or maybe provide electricity?
They're not economical right now. They haven't reached the stage where they do the same return on investment as, say, a standard panel. As a standard panel, you know, the 8% rate of return. So I mean, it's coming, but it's not. It's
not worth waiting.
It's not efficient. It's not a good use.
The cost per installed watt is about 2 to 3 times
Right.
this particular way. And maintenance fees for those are higher. And they've had very mixed results in test subjects, test homes. Sometimes it works wonderfully, sometimes it doesn't, but at this particular point in time, it's very much more expensive than panels.
And they're impacted by roof pitch and other things. It's particularly in the winter time.
So I just reached out to Dennis to find out what Reedfield's doing, and he said they have a community solar farm that's working. So I don't know the specifics of that, but they are doing some solar there
Right.
for the town. Just so you know, I did get an email the other day also from our consortium group, letting us know that the electric portion that is not locked into our group is going up significantly within the next few weeks. So I think it's like 22% or something like that for the town. So it's something to consider. I think whatever we can do to reduce our electrical costs. What you saw on the warrant tonight is not the entire electric bill. That was only part of it.
Sure. The breakdown I saw was $4,395.
But I mean, it doesn't cost
I'm
us
assuming that-
anything to investigate. And there are an
Right.
awful lot of people out there who would like to supply us with some information. So if you're all okay with that, I just didn't want to be going out there off on my own and you wondering what the heck I was doing.
No, it's definitely like that. I would personally like to see you investigate the options.
Mhm.
See what's, and then we can discuss what best fits the town. I think we should do something.
Yeah.
We should see what best fits the town.
I mean, because we know that one of the biggest consumers is this building, with heating
Yes.
and electrical and what we're planning with the LED lights and all of that, that's gonna help with air conditioning and the lighting costs going forward, but we know that this building consumes a lot, so if we, its size and all of that compared to the town office or things like that, it definitely tips the scales here, so not that we wanna do anything for, about this building, we wanna always have it, but having an option to power it is an important thing, I think.
But, just to give a plug to Dennis, he is working
Oh,
on
gosh,
replacing
yes.
the lights in the
Yes.
theater to LED lights, and that's going to
That's
be
gonna be a
a
huge
huge
thing.
savings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be wonderful, and they've done well with their fundraising, too,
Yes.
so.
Well, the theater owns the old lights. Are they gonna take them with them?
I believe so. We want to be able to own the
On
lights.
the lights.
So they're gonna remove them, or do we remove them and give them to them?
I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sure
I don't
Dennis
think-
will handle that. He's
Yeah,
been
Dennis
doing an
will-
amazing job with managing this building and managing the theater aspect of it, so. I know Dennis will be all over that, and when the time comes, but, the theater, the Compton Hall will be autonomous. They will rent the space, the lights, and the audio, as opposed to renting the space and then the theater renting the lights and the audio. So we'll be able to supply a package, and a much better package that is much cooler and more efficient and safer for the
What about
building
the
as well.
seats?
What
Do
about
they still own the
seats?
seats, or do we own them now?
We own the seats.
I think
I don't
those
think it was
are
ever-
seats.
They used to, the theater used to own the seating, as they put it in. Or they replaced it, rather, with more modern chairs.
I don't
But,
think they
I think they
own
did
any.
it through donation, because Nance and I donated them.
Right, but do they own the seats, or do we, or does the town own the seats?
I wasn't on
I
the.
think the
Hall
town owns the
Trust.
seats. They're part of
Can you
it.
check on that, please, Linda?
Mhm.
Well, that should be in the hall trustee notes, because anything done would have been through the hall trustees, so there must be some, and I'm sure Linda, tomorrow, we're meeting tomorrow night, so we can check with Linda Johnston too, and see if she remembers how that all played out, but I don't see how the theater could ever own, something that's permanently, well, or semi-permanently fixed. I mean, lights are one thing, light fixtures that are special are one thing, but seats, I can't imagine that.
Okay, I'll reach out and see what our options are. As soon as these RFPs are out, I've got a little bit of time that I can work on the next project.
Great. Will we adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
The costs of the administration building, don't be surprised if it's there, it takes months after they're ordered.
No, we actually today, Tim wanted me to talk to Dave. I've talked to 4 companies now. Dave said, no, they didn't sign that one. He said they're.
They must have them in inventory then, because we just put 2 mini splits in the house
Yeah.
and had to order them. It took 2 months.
Is there
So
any?
one of the other companies, Just Fuel, said we would be, a couple months. We're like, it's okay, we can still get into that building. We got people.
Right, but if you've got a contractor that has them in inventory, then yeah, they can do whenever
Very
they
heavy.
get their crew up there, but if they have to order
Very
them.
heavy.
Breaking
Yeah,
apart, so I found out a little.
Is it a
thing.
cinder block?
On your electric bill, if you are a MGS, medium.
Grown up
something
protection.
service, you don't qualify for the highest rebate.
I could just wear it like this on the way out.
I can call something service, then you do. And so when I called St. Peter there, I said, can we please break apart the service of the admin building from the main building? And also, can you please change us to an SGS? And she said, absolutely.
So great.
So the rebates on these should be much higher than $500.
So this is an efficiency main program, a light
Yes.
replacement thing?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course I will. Well, let me, yeah.
Do you like summer squash?